The stricken, corrupted, zombified army of the Teletubby race versus the infected, crazed, anthropomorphic horde from Piggy. Disease. The idea of getting sick can drive fear through anyone's mind. But what if an illness we caught did a little more than just keeping us stuck at home for a little while? What if it turned you into a crazed, bloodthirsty zombie? That idea is given form through these two swarms of monsters. Also, yes, for this fight we will be including everyone. Every single monster. That's right, we're doing an army battle. Welcome to Danny Boy's Fight Club, the series where yours truly puts two fictional characters against each other in a hypothetical battle to the death. Today's fight is gonna be crowded. A long time ago, the humans had gone extinct, and in their place, the Teletubbies were created. Humanoid creatures with fur and television screens on their stomachs that lived their lives rather normally. They even developed their own forms of society, military, cities, and culture. One day, a specific group of Teletubbies were made from the creation machines to live life on the mainland. Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, and Po. They were monitored by an unnamed Teletubby, the Guardian, and by their vacuum cleaning robot, Noo-Noo. This strange yet comfortable peace shared between them changed on one fateful day. Something, or someone, had messed with the Tubby custard machine the Teletubbies would use to make their favorite meal. After everyone had gone to bed, Tinky Winky would arise and destroy the custard machine and leave, behaving as if he was stricken with some kind of sickness. Po, since she was up late, noticed this strange behavior and decided to pursue Tinky Winky to find out what was going wrong, only to get less than stellar results. After this incident, the Guardian decided to investigate the mainland, being forced to confront this infection and go on a journey to overcome it. Now that we've got an idea of what started all of this, let's begin with what this army's power is built from. Beginning this portion, we have the more common groups of enemies, the newborns. Armless Teletubbies born with the virus in their DNA that let out high-pitched shrieks and usually attack by charging and headbutting people. Following them are the runner newborns, who run much faster and have a machete for an arm, making them much more physically threatening. The ranged newborn, a rather frail newborn that is capable of shooting rockets at the cost of a slight cooldown at the end, leaving them vulnerable as they don't exactly do much besides shooting rockets. After those are the phantom newborns, a group of tall, shadowy, and gangly newborns capable of turning invisible and sneaking up on enemies. There is also the security droids and spider droids, robotic enemies that can harm you in rather crafty ways, with the security droids spitting their arm blades fast enough to damage people, and the spider droids sneaking up on people and slashing at them with their sharp appendages. These ones are still somewhat common, but are a lot more dangerous, and some are even akin to mini-bosses. Like the Berserker newborn, a monstrous newborn with claws, the newborn general, a horned bull-resembling mini-boss with maces for hands that can create a destructive attack that creates shockwaves, and the Scorpion newborn, a towering newborn that can shoot flaming projectiles called flame missiles, and resembles a scorpion. Then there's the more robotic ones, like the Imposter. A robot designed seemingly to imitate the Guardian and wields a sword with the ability to create a lightning wave and an energy spirit of custard called the Custard Blast. It also shares these abilities with the Announcer robot and its mini counterpart. Now, things might seem a bit basic, but we're just getting started. Somewhere in a distant laboratory, there were 3 Teletubbies that were used for experiments conducted by several human scientists. The trio consisted of the Arrow Tubby, Yeti Tubby, and Cave Tubby. What happened to them remains somewhat vague, with our only knowledge of them being that one of them had turned, another ran away, and another one had presumably been killed. As to what happened to who, I have no idea. The Arrow Tubby wanders the training maze and has the ability to throw fire missiles and create fire blasts. Following him is a Yeti Tubby, a Teletubby that lived somewhere in the mountains and forced a robot to prepare meals for it. From what we can see, the Yeti Tubby can throw ice hammers and summon ice spikes. And finishing this section off, we have the gigantic and brutish Cave Tubby, a Goliath that lurks in the caves on the mainland and seems to have one of his arms turning into a spike. His ability Rock Smash creates a giant line of protruding rocks from the ground. So, remember those first 4 Teletubbies I mentioned at the beginning? Tinky Winky, Dipsy, Lala, Po? Well, Tinky Winky wasn't the only one who succumbed to the infection. The other 4 had also turned into monsters at one point or another, so they're definitely the most powerful. Starting this off, we got Lala and Dipsy. Wait, they both died. Wait, okay, so, due to some strange effect of the virus, after Dipsy died, his head managed to regenerate a new body, while his body was reanimated as a headless, chainsaw-wielding zombie that slaughtered several of the Teletubbies in the satellite station. But that headless form had been taken out by an explosive security laser, so it can't be present. But his head fortunately formed a new body for itself. A more amphibious and beastly appearance that lurks around the swamps of Teletubby Land. His one singular ability is Water Shot, which shoots water. Since Lala is unfortunately out of commission, she can't be taken into account, but that just means that we get to move on to the strongest of the 4. Tinky Winky is the iconic mascot of the Slendytubbies franchise, and for good reason. He managed to kill the rest of his friends before they inevitably turned and scared many Teletubbies and YouTubers alike. And he's the introduction to the idea of evolutionary forms. The last time the Guardian sees him, Tinky Winky managed to use some strange form of telekinesis to bring a bowl of custard to himself, absorbing it and turning himself into the monstrous Tinky Tank, a behemoth that can crush anyone like ants if given the chance. Both Tinky Winky and his tank form possess a great amount of lightning powers, with Tinky Winky being able to shoot a lightning shot, a sphere of electricity, and the Tinky Tank being able to summon a lightning storm in front of himself. Both can also create lightning blasts to hurt opponents from above, too. Now for Po, that evolutionary forms thing is in abundance. She is the last opponent the Guardian must face, and no wonder, she's got 3 forms. The standard infected form, a more insectoid form with 2 extra arms with spikes coming out of them, and her final form, a giant spider tubby. And with these forms comes several abilities. The most consistent ones being Fireball and Fire Blast, a radius-based power that summons fire around her. Abilities specific to her 2 forms are the Dark Smash and Fire Beam. Po also has an exploding area ability, Rock Smash, Fire Toss, Fireballs, Fire Area, and Quick Shadow Missiles, all of which she gets in the campaign. These 2 are quite odd, being as we don't know a whole lot about them, but from what I could find, I have been able to piece together some semblance of what they are. Beginning this section is the Ghost Girl. Do not Google her name in public. A creepy high schooler who apparently is a ghost.
Never heard that one before.
And is stated to be the imaginary friend of Lala. She wanders the dilapidated possessed school and has the ability to fire dark shots, projectiles formed from shadows, and create shadow tornadoes. Another ability she has are the dark missiles that she can shoot at people and damage them repeatedly, which is actually shared with another character in this section, the Shadow Tubby. Now, the Shadow Tubby is a bit of an enigma, but it's stated to be the physical embodiment of the virus itself. It manifests itself in the minds of people, even if they aren't under the influence of the virus. Besides the dark missiles, it has a Shadow Trail ability to summon a line of shadows in front of it, and a Shadow Blast it can form to harm enemies. You know, now that we're back to talking about the virus itself again, I wonder, who was responsible for all of this in the first place? The mastermind who orchestrated and coordinated everything? Well, it could only be one.
In some ways, I guess I completely underestimated you, Guardian. You are stronger than the rest. And you certainly are a brave Teletubby. I'll say that. But it's just beginning. You may have defeated the announcer, but you will not, at any point, succeed.
The Guardian had finally made it past all the trauma and tribulations, the horrors and nightmares, and finally reached the end of his journey, only to be met by Noo-Noo. The Guardian demanded to know what was going on, and Noo-Noo told him that things were better, that he made things better. The vacuum who could barely do anything by itself started all of this for what he believed was right. Noo-Noo offered for the Guardian to join him in his cleansing of the world and infection of all the Teletubbies. But the Guardian refused, and eventually won in the end of his climactic fight with Po. Then, the Guardian tore Noo-Noo apart using his chainsaw. The apocalypse was finally over, or at least beginning to be over. That was a lot of talking for a Slenderman parody. Sometimes a temporary solution to a problem only leads to a much larger issue. The world was perfectly fine. For everyone, life was normal. Except for Mr. P. After his wife caught a strange, rare disease, he desperately scrambled to create a cure. However, a brave family came along volunteering to help test it. The Piggy family. Upon testing it, the family seemed fine, healthy even. All until something went horribly wrong. You, the player, go to the Piggy household to investigate the disappearance of the family, only to find that they had fallen victim to an infection. After narrowly escaping, you go on a journey across the country to find more survivors, as well as a cure. Lots of death, drama, and disappearances ensue. As you progress along your journey, you encounter many of the infected, many of which look suspiciously familiar. All of them also share that same glowing eye. Well, most of them anyways. All of the infected carry some kind of melee weapon. Bats, crowbars, hammers, knives, you name it. And then there's a guy with a flamethrower, and then this guy with a rocket launcher. The infected seem to be boosted in physical strength by the virus, as they can take out the player in a single swing, as well as survive being shot. This does, however, stun them temporarily. However, the real power and threat of the infected comes from their usage of traps. In Piggy, there is a large variety of traps that the player can utilize. Aside from the obvious use of blocking off pathways, they all have their own unique uses and quirks, like the alarm trap that alerts the infected to the target's location, the black hole trap that pulls people towards it, the mouse trap that tracks you down, and the crawling trap that grabs you and drags you right to the infected. A perfect counter to those stupid vent campers. There are also some more unique cases, like the snowman traps that throw snowballs at you to slow your movement speed, or the tombstone trap that summons zombies from the ground, or the teleport trap that lets the infected teleport. Okay, there is still a lot of unanswered questions. What happened to Mr. P? What's up with the crawling trap? And those eyes that we keep seeing? Is there someone working behind the scenes? At the end of the first half of the story, we see Mr. P has upgraded his body to become partly cybernetic, preventing himself from becoming infected. One boss fight and lore dump later, he ends up sacrificing himself to allow you to keep fighting for the cure. This still leaves one unanswered question. What is up with those glowing eyes? Specifically the orange ones, and the crawling trap. What could it all mean? If you care to check out the Easter eggs hidden throughout the map, there are several appearances of notes and eyes alluding to a strange figure known as the Insolence. All this finally came together in Chapter 10 of the second half of the game. Yep, that's right, Mr. Tumbler Hear Me Out over here was the one behind it all. Well, kinda. Well, you see, the Insolence turns out to actually be a cult. All the infected with those weird glowing orange eyes are directly linked to a strange, unseen entity. And Tio, or the Inquisitus one, is presumably the leader. He appears to you in your head, trying to persuade you into joining forces with him. He views fighting for the cure as pointless, as it only causes division and strife amongst allies and family. In his humble opinion, the infection should just run its course, destroying everything, since humanity is a bigger monster than the infected ever will be. And once everything is gone, the world can just rebuild itself naturally. After you refuse to join him, Tio answers you with the equivalent of, "Fine, I'll do it myself." Once you reach Chapter 12, you are met with a choice. You can take the cure for yourself, which gives the survivor ending, or choose between giving it to Tigry or Willow, both options leading to the savior ending. Okay, I lied. There's 3, actually. After trapping you in a strange mental space, the player must find his way out. To do this, they must use the power of friendship by calling upon the memories of deceased allies. And then Tio's dead. Bam, just like that, he's dead. This all does raise a question, though. Why do we fight for what we want? What are our motives? What are we willing to throw away in order to achieve them? Are we actually willing to do anything to further our own goals, even if it's to the detriment of others? There may not be an apocalypse involving zombie Peppa Pigs overrunning the world, but it still does call to attention our intentions for our goals. In the end, Piggy remains on top as the undisputed king of Roblox horror games throughout 2020. And always remember this: never play as Piggy on Carnival. Alright, it's the moment you've been waiting for. Let's settle this discussion once and for all. It's time for the fight portion of this video!
There are several biohazardous outbreaks loose in the intercity. Evacuate immediately and keep your friends and loved ones close. The authorities will handle this as soon as possible. We know they will.
Attention to all of you civilians. You are in good hands. Let yourself join the ranks of the stricken and succumb to the biohazard. You all are in my way. That priest was right about this. I will get rid of you all. Linxy, the green key. The green key is in the cabin near the cave on a bench. I only have so many of you remaining. I do not want you to torn apart and not be put back together. You must move forward, or this will all be for nothing. Go and assist your allies.
Well done, Noo-Noo.
Yes, there.
I go by many names. I see we share similar motives. Your goal is to allow this infection to run its course, just like myself. At last, I have met someone on the same wavelength as me. Why don't you join the Insolence?
I have already sworn loyalty to someone else and I respectfully decline.
Your world is overrun by greedy, selfish people, willing to push others down to further their own goals. By allowing the infection to take over the world, life as we know it will restore itself, just like how a forest regrows after a wildfire.
I do not wish to destroy anything. I only wish to prepare this universe for heaven.
So you decline my offer, despite sharing the same goal?
Our goals do not align. This conversation is over.
So be it. I guess I'll just have to use force instead. quarrel with me despite sharing the same motivations, even if you deny it. But it will all be in vain if you not join me now.
I will not.
Who on earth? You imbecile! You will regret this!
You see, you should be never tried to align yourself with me in the first place. We don't even have the same goal. You do this to spread an infection that leads to the end of us all, a restart for existence itself. I do this so I can save this world and all of its inhabitants.
Don't just stand there.
Acknowledge this as a gift, your last breathing moments.
You buffoon! Why?
Now to finish what I came here for.
Taking a long look at the range forecast, along with our large situation we've been having. Continued darkness, extreme cold, and extreme high rates of toxicity. This is Tyler Irvin. Good night.
Well, rest in peace to the entire Piggy cinematic universe. You will be missed. This matchup was fascinating to look into and it had tons of moving parts to it. However, I was able to figure it out by breaking it into three main categories. First of all, stats. The Slendytubbies infected very clearly outmatched the Piggy infected in terms of physical stats. They were much faster, presumably more powerful, and had an actual healing factor. While the Piggy infected could tank bullets, they still get stunned from this for a while. And the Slendytubbies were clearly capable of outputting much more firepower. The Slendytubbies clearly take stats. But what about arsenal? While several of the Slendytubbies had powerful weapons, many of their abilities were shared across several characters, making it a lot less versatile than the length of their analysis might make it seem. The infected surprisingly actually had a little bit more variety. Fire hoses, crowbars, bats, knives, flamethrowers, rocket launchers, and not to mention the countless traps that would definitely throw the Slendytubbies for a loop. The sheer variety that the Piggy infected had with their arsenal far exceeded anything that the Slendytubbies had. The Piggy infected take arsenal. Okay, now let's address the elephant in the room. Tio was weird to analyze. He appears to possess the ability to create mental spaces and even warp reality to a limited degree. If he could trap Noo-Noo in the space, that would put him in serious danger. And while it is perfectly fair to question whether or not Tio should even be in this analysis in the first place, even if we included him, the Slendytubbies army still takes this, all because of a certain being in lore that is very similar to Tio. The Shadow Tubby could do everything Tio can, and then some. Its ability to generate large blasts and projectiles meant that he was the perfect counter to Tio. This meant that the Piggy army didn't really possess a surefire way of winning. The Piggy infected were no joke. The variety of their army proved them to be a serious threat. However, with the Slendytubby's superior raw power and tenacity, they were ultimately outclassed. The winner is Huh.